Hi, my name is Tom Haig. I'm a freelance engineer, formerly of Chicago, and now living and working in Ireland. Thank you to Kathleen for inviting me to put a little video together for the opportunity to talk to you guys. So I'm going to try and just go over briefly what an engineer does in a voiceover recording session. A little bit about me. When I worked in Chicago, I worked at a studio called ARU, and I did a lot of commercial sessions. So I've worked with voiceover people for many years, and so I'm going to try and tell you what it is I did. And I'm going to refer to my notes as well, because apparently I can't just talk off the top of my head. So there's probably three main things that the engineer does in a session. Number one, we're managing logistics. We're just running the show. So, when the clients come in, we're making sure that they're comfortable and that they've got everything that they need. Water, Wi-Fi connection, password is probably the big one. Second, obviously I'm taking care of all the technical aspects of the session. So that would be making sure that the equipment is working and that it's ready to go, troubleshooting any problems that might come up. And then also I'm getting you, the voice talent, on mic, making sure you're comfortable, and then setting levels and kind of getting ready to go. The third thing that I probably do as well is provide a buffer between the clients and you. So a lot of the time, when you walk into a room, there's going to be a lot of people there. Lots of people giving you instructions, me, probably a producer, and the writer usually as well, if you're in an advertising agency scenario. So quite a lot of the time as well, I'm just sort of there to help you out and make sure that you're getting the information from the clients that they need to. A lot of that depends on the experience level of the person who's directing. So if it's someone who's done it for years, they know how to communicate what they want from you to you effectively in language that you're going to understand. In which case, I usually step back, press the record button, and kind of leave it there. But also, a lot of the time you're going to be working with people who might not necessarily have that much experience directing. So I sometimes translate directions, and also I'm always looking for ways to look after the client's back. Okay, make sure that they that nothing sort of creeps in that they might not be focused on. So an example of that would be they may be making you do several takes because they don't like the pronunciation of a particular word. But over the course of those 10 takes that you might be doing, I may be hearing your energy go down every time, So there's certain things that I can sort of be aware of that help them get the best results that they can. And I'm also sort of there to help you guys out as well, to make sure that you get your breaks and stuff like that. So now I'd like to just talk a little bit about when you walk into the room, when you're going to do a session, and when you're going to get in the booth, and kind of what to expect. So first of all, it's always good to come to a session well prepared. Back at ARU, we tried to have things like pencils and water bottles and things like that available if you need them, but you're not always going to necessarily be recording in a really good studio in downtown Chicago. So it's good if you can bring your own water, your own pencils and stuff like that, just to be sure. It can also be a good idea as well to bring things like apple slices if you're someone who needs help with sibilance and clicks, and I think I fall into that bracket as well. So when you arrive, as I said earlier, there could well be a lot of people in the room, 3, 4, 5. Most of those, if it's an advertising agency, are going to be people from the agency. Although sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes the client, as in the end brand, for whom the spot is being made. They might be there as well. And it's pretty often as well, they'll call the client as well at the end of the at the end of the recording session to say, hey, here's what we've got. Give us your feedback. But in general, from an advertising agency, you're going to find at minimum a producer and a writer. Sometimes it's just the writer. Sometimes there's also an account person. The account person is there to sort of be the point person to liaise between the agency and the client. Most of the time, the producer is going to be talking to you. They're going to be the person that kind of books you. But when you get into the session, it's usually the writer who's going to be directing you, because they're the one that has probably picked you to read their script. So obviously, try to find out names. That's always good. I was always quite bad at remembering agency clients' names if they were new to me. So my little trick was just to, as soon as people came in the room, just make a bit of a plot as to who was sat where, and quickly write people's names down like that. Now you have an advantage because you're expected to be writing things down in your script. So try that. Okay, so once we get into the booth, I want you to be comfortable and to be able to do the best performance that you can. So usually you will be, in the US at least, you'll be standing up to do your voice overing. In Europe, actually, it's far more common for people to sit down and have a little desk stand. Personally, I usually prefer talent to stand, unless it's like for an audiobook or something that's going to take hours, because it helps energy. And a lot of the time in voiceover sessions, once you're on take 85, energy has dipped. So, and if you were sitting down, that would be even worse. Anyway, so that's a bit of a segue. So adjust the music stand. First of all, get it to a good height. You got to have good posture. If you're sort of hunched over like this, looking down, it's going to obstruct your airway, and it's just going to sound bad. It's going to affect the tone quality of your voice. So get that stand up to a good height. One little thing with being prepared for a session is, if you need reading glasses, make sure you bring them. I always wanted at work to keep a selection of reading glasses there for certain people who would turn up and have trouble reading the 8-point text that's down here. All right, so you've set your music stand. Put on your headphones. Make sure right is right and left is left. And then leave us, please, to do the mic adjustments. Now, obviously, most of you guys, you're going to have seen a microphone before. You're probably quite used to adjusting your own microphone. But as well as being expensive and, you stepping on my ego if you attempt to set the height of the mic, there's also more mundane reasons. Generally, the engineer knows the booth that they're recording in very well. In every room, there's good places sonically, and not so good places, and places that you don't want to point the mic, etc. And we know where those places are. So, and we also have our own sort of preferences on, tone quality that we want to get, and we know the mics intimately. So just let us do that, please, because we need to preserve our jobs if at all possible. So once you've got yourself comfortable and your mic stand and your headphones and the mic set, we are generally ready to go. So the next thing that I will ask you to do is to read a little bit of the script for level. It helps if you can please read as close as to what the level that you'll perform at as possible. Otherwise, with an inexperienced voiceover person, they'll often just kind of read something off the page just like this, and then when we're actually ready for take one, the energy comes in and they're much, much louder, and I'm sitting there going, turn that level down. So that helps if you can give me a consistent level and energy from the outset. let's talk about cues really quick. The cue is our sort of technical name for your headphone feed. Now, sometimes you'll go into a studio and there will be like a nice little level, like a little panel here with a level control that your headphones plug directly into. Sometimes it's a headphone amp that's kind of off to one side with your own dedicated volume knob. If that is provided for you, please feel free to set a comfortable level for yourself. If you're unsure whether that level where that level should be, err on the quieter, because what will happen if you have the level too loud in your headphones, a little subconscious process will sort of kick in where you begin to quieten down and project less. And in general, lower projection equals worse tone. So that's something that we want to avoid. In other studios, you might not have a dedicated volume knob, in which case the engineer is your friend. Please feel free to ask them, can you take the level up in my headphones or down or whatever, and they will be happy to oblige. So after we're all set up and we're rolling, and the mic set and all that kind of stuff and the level, one thing to keep in mind is that you need to be consistent in terms of making sure that you maintain your position relative to the microphone as best as you can. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be completely rigid. In fact, I want you to be able to have a certain ability to move and be physical, because that's almost always going to translate into a better performance. That physicality is gonna translate to that. But you just need to make sure that you're not moving off mic or making any extreme movements which are going to result in a big tone quality change in the recording. And usually, I'll be monitoring that, and I'll know, okay, that something's not sounding right. Oh, you've moved, 2 paces to the right. But it's good. You can help me out if you keep an eye on that. Well, thank you to Kathleen for the opportunity to speak to you guys. I may or may not be back with other videos. And basically, have fun, practice lots, and good luck.